Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Saturday Night Supper Club. I am your maitre d', your host, le front Porch Conservateur. May we have your coat? Oh, thank you, madam. Sir, may I have your jacket? Yes, here is your ticket. And if you'll please, Francois will escort you to your seats. Sit down. You relax, you snuggle into the comforts of a great Queen Anne chair. Water is poured. Little smile on the face of the waiter as he walks by. Bow ties are neatly in place. Jackets are crisp. The red linen on the table is nice. You sit down, you both breathe a sigh of relief, and you realize you're among civilized company. You're among people who like to talk about the news, gathered together on just nights like this to do that very thing. And with that, again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am known as the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to the Saturday Evening Supper Club. We don't get together often at the Supper Club, only for those occasions that will allow it. But when we do, we try to make it a point to have a good time doing it. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. We're glad you're with us tonight. Lots to talk about. And as TBA over on Rumble says, yes, there we are. Dinner is served. Well, not quite yet. But we will be serving up something very nice. And no, WWG1, we are not doing Jello shots. Alcohol is allowed at the Saturday Night Supper Club, but we are not doing Jello shots. My hardworking staff back in the kitchen is serving up all kinds of items for news for your perusal. But no, sir, we are not doing Jello shots tonight. I kind of like this music. I really do. We have a good band playing back there. Wonderful little three-man trio. Don't ask me their names. I have trouble understanding the language they're speaking. They look swarthy and from south of the border, but for that, they play good jazz. I give them that. Anyway, in all seriousness, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please, if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, please make it a point to subscribe to the Front Porch Conservative channel on Rumble and on YouTube. They're Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Well, you know, they kind of got a ducky kind of a feel to them, so maybe that is their names. I don't know about that, TBA, but you might absolutely be right. Anyway, if you're not subscribed to my channels on YouTube and Rumble, please do so. Also, hit the thumbs up as we're starting this little escapade into evening news. Would be greatly appreciated. Share the link around far and wide. Let's get a whole bunch of people in here and let's talk about what's going on in the world on this Saturday in the year of our Lord, August 2024. Thanks again to all of you guys for being here at noon. And I think I've got the situation worked out with Mr. Cass. At least I'm on my way to getting it worked out. He and I will get that interview recorded sometime next weekend. And I'll put it up on the channel probably. Let's see, following Monday's Labor Day. Okay, it's going to be the day after Labor Day, or it might even be Labor Day weekend. I don't know quite yet, but we'll see. Anyhow, I want to thank you guys for your understanding on how all that went down. And like I said, and I sent John an email and I said, I'm very sorry for the troubles you were having that I couldn't talk you through it. But we're going to work this thing out. It's going to be fine. All right. With that, get back here. How dare you? Don't go running off just because I smack you. Anyhow, thanks for being here for the Saturday Night Supper Club. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. Go ahead also, hit the thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, let's get into some of the biggest news that's been going on the past 48 hours. And good evening again, my love. Love you, darling. I knew I got up and shaved for a good reason this morning. All these good-looking women walking around in the supper club. Whew, Lordy, look at those ladies in those dresses. Mercy, mercy, mercy. I want to start out, and ever since RFK Jr.'s announcement yesterday, the memes have been flying around left and right. But I want to start out with one that's not really a meme, but it does sort of explain a lot, I think, that went into RFK Jr.'s thinking with his withdrawal from the race. And then from there, not just withdrawing from the race, but also his endorsement of Trump. And it goes back to something that his late uncle said. Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And like I said this afternoon, I freely recognize the picadillos of the Kennedys over the years. These are very imperfect people. They are individuals that have their foibles, and Lord knows they have been publicized for God and everyone to hear. And there's probably stuff we don't even know that would just really, really just send us all straight up. Okay. But on the other side of that scale is weighed in the balance is their willingness and want for public service. Now, again, you can disagree with their policies, and that's fine. But as a whole, they have always tried to serve their country in peace and in war. Remember, Joe Jr. died in World War II. Jack had a boat shot out from under him in the Pacific. Okay. So we're not talking about people that are just, talk about serving their country. They've actually served. And if you did not get a chance to listen to RFK Jr.'s withdrawal speech yesterday, I'm going to drop a link in chat for all of you guys. The speech runs just about 50 minutes. Okay. Yeah, the legendary PT 109. Exactly. And this is for you guys' benefit. If you haven't listened to the speech, I really, really recommend it to you. That speech, and we're going to play a couple of clips. That speech was any number of things that I wish we had more of in American politics. That speech was classy. That speech was carefully thought out. It wasn't full of anger. It wasn't hateful. It wasn't divisive. It was a call to higher and nobler ideals. Now, again, I don't agree with RFK Jr. on a lot of issues, and I understand that going in. But I also think that this is one of those moments where we get the chance to be reminded that we can still find ways to work together, even though we may not agree on everything. There are some issues that can be the ties that bind. And the places where we disagree with each other, well, we'll just vigorously fight and consider and debate and argue and everything else. But there were three issues primarily driving RFK Jr.: the Ukraine war, censorship and free speech, and the health of our nation, particularly when it came to kids. And I want to play a couple of clips. And this first one runs about 3 minutes. I am not going to interrupt this, okay? Unless I really think it's necessary. But this is at the tail end of the speech. And if you really want an understanding, well, hang on, let me back up a second. There's one I want to play before that. Here we go. Before I get to that, the real long clip. laying aside the speech, its content, and everything else, I mentioned this earlier this afternoon, and it bears repeating. There is let me find the meme because it's going to explain what I'm getting at probably better than anything else you're going to see. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Let me pop this up here for everybody to look at. This is one of the memes that I found today. First picture is obviously a Democrat pushing Elon Musk away. Then again, the same Democrat is pushing Tulsi Gabbard away. And then the third one, the same Democrats pushing RFK Jr. away. And then all of a sudden, when they're all standing on the same side as Donald Trump, the Democrat says, but why are all you guys helping Trump? Well, if Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and Robert Kennedy Jr. are now helping Donald Trump, may I respectfully submit it's the Democrats' own fault. And particularly,
what is he getting wrong? What he's getting wrong is just about everything. Can you?
Not yet. I'm not ready for you. Shut up over there. How dare you? Anyway, sorry about that. Sometimes at the supper club, we do spill a dish every now and then. What can I tell you? But if Kamala Harris and the Democrats are upset, assuming, of course, they even care, okay, then may I respectfully point out, you drove RFK Jr. into the arms of Donald Trump. And I want to play a clip. It runs about a little over a minute. And it sort of is the background to how it is that Donald Trump and RFK Jr. started talking to each other. Now, let me set this up. This is not included in the clip, but I want to set this up. There was a mutual acquaintance. There was a mutual acquaintance between Robert Kennedy Jr. and the Trump campaign who came to RFK Jr. and said, hey, look, I know Donald Trump wants to talk to you. He thinks there's some issues that you guys can work on, but he wants to see where you're at. Will you call him? Okay, now that sets up what you're about to hear. And if you haven't heard this yet, this is part of the speech. Take a listen to this and give me a sound check as always.
He told me President Trump was anxious to talk to me about chronic disease and other subjects and to explore avenues of cooperation. He asked if I would take a call from the president. President Trump telephoned me a few minutes later, and I met with him the following day. A few weeks later, I met again with President Trump and his family members and closest advisors in Florida. In a series of long, intense discussions, I was surprised to discover that we are aligned on many key issues. In those meetings, he suggested that we join forces as a unity party. We talked about Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals. That arrangement would allow us to disagree publicly and privately and fiercely, if need be, on issues over which we differ, while working together on the existential issues upon which we are in concordance.
Now, I want to ask a question of you, my audience, and for anybody else who may be listening to this later on past tonight. When was the last time you heard that sort of thing in the Democrat Party? And I'm not trying to turn my next set of comments into a partisan bashing session. Lord knows I can do that most any other time. But there's a point that I'm trying to drive at here. A mutual person comes to RFK Jr. and says, hey, look, Trump wants to talk to you. There's some things that he thinks you guys agree on. Would you take the phone call? Yeah, I'll take the call. So this mutual friend, I guess, gets on the phone, calls Trump, says, hey, I just talked to RFK Jr. He says he'll take the phone call. I don't know, 15 minutes, a half an hour later, who knows? But sometime after this conversation between RFK Jr. and the mutual friend, up calls Donald Trump. And this may be the phone call that we've all seen that got leaked. They call it a leak. I'm not so sure how much of a leak it was, but you get my point. And RFK's like, well, let's keep on talking. Trump's like, let's do it. All right, so a few weeks later, RFK Jr. comes on down to Mar-a-Lago. There's the Donald and Melania. Probably, if I had to guess, Don Jr. and who knows who else, probably members of Trump's campaign staff. And they sit there and they have a really substantive conversation. And out of this, RFK Jr. realizes, hey, we do agree on a lot of stuff. And I've been saying this for the longest time, and I'm not just saying this next thing, I'm not to toot my horn, but I've been saying for the longest time that we're coming to a point or a spot intellectually where there's a whole bunch of people getting together that under normal circumstances, they never would have ever thought they could be on the same side. Zippy says, RFK is a heavy regulator. I do not trust him much. All right, I can respect that. I can absolutely respect that. Okay. TBA says, existential issues. See, that's what I'm saying. Ah, Tennessee. Good to have you, brother. I haven't seen you in a long time. Pull up a chair. Welcome to the Supper Club. Yeah, there's a great example. Tip O'Neill. Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan used to fight like cats and dogs. But at the end of the day, they found a way to work together, including having a good scotch at the end of the day. This is true, too. Hello, Robert. Glad to have you here tonight. Welcome to the Supper Club. There are a whole bunch of people that are coming to an intellectual spot. It's not necessarily a geographic place as much as it is a plane of ideas. And the more they start talking to each other, the more they realize that, hey, I don't agree with you on everything, but I agree with you enough, I can work with you. When was the last time you ever saw that in the Democrat Party? And I absolutely agree with this. Ages. You don't see it anymore because in the Democrat Party, it's hive mind. There is no way I'm sorry, and I'm going to say something I know is going to come off as sounding partisan, but it's just, I can't help it, but it's true. There is no way in the world that you would have what has happened between Donald Trump and Robert Kennedy Jr. happen in the modern Democrat Party. You're just not going to have it. It will not happen. Because they do not allow for dissent. They do not allow for differing voices. And here's the kicker to it. And I haven't got the article pulled up from the Washington Post. But after these conversations took place, and he mentions it in the speech, RFK Jr. reached out to Harris, or tried to reach out to her campaign staff to have the same kind of conversations that he's having with Trump. They wouldn't even take the phone call. They wouldn't even listen to him. Wouldn't meet with. Forget meeting. They wouldn't take a phone call from the guy. This is, and people, this is being minimized in the press. And I'm sorry, and I kind of expect that because either A, they don't realize the significance of it, or B, they want to downplay it. I think it's more they want to downplay it. Okay. But the press is glossing over one enormous fact. Okay. Most people who don't have any sense of history, which is not this audience, because this audience is the smartest group of people on the internet, and we'll get even smart, and we're going to get even more smart people in this group of smart people before it's all said and done. But most people with no sense of history, they say the name RFK Jr. and they don't realize the significance of it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the scion of, and I said this earlier today, the scion of one of the most famous political families in American history, stretching back over 100 years. Joseph Kennedy Sr. served in the administration of FDR. He was ambassador to Great Britain. His son, Joe Jr., lost his life in the Second World War. Jack Kennedy served in the Second World War and then was a U.S. Senator. He's a congressman, then a U.S. Senator, then President of the United States. Robert Kennedy Sr. served as Attorney General to his brother and served as Senator from the state of New York. Edward Kennedy served from 1960 until, I think, death in like 2000 something. There are Kennedy, younger Kennedy, I think Joseph Kennedy III was a congressman from Massachusetts. We're talking about a family that goes back over 100 years. And not just in American history, in Democrat Party history. You could make a good argument that after Roosevelt, the name Kennedy, you say the word Kennedy to the right people, and they automatically associate with the Democrat Party. Automatically. And for the first time in the 100-plus year history in American politics, a Democrat named Kennedy, has endorsed a Republican nominee for President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that again. A Democrat named Kennedy, with the last name Kennedy, has endorsed a Republican candidate for president. And this Kennedy is not just any member of the Kennedy clan. You're talking about the son of Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy, the man who was the former Attorney General of the United States, former senator from the state of New York, candidate for president himself in his own right, who was assassinated in 1968. This is that man's son. This is that Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. Yeah, and you're right. You're absolutely right. They wouldn't take the call. Should have, but they're not going to. They don't care. This is the arrogance of the Democrat Party run amok. And if what was done in the past 24 hours comes back to cost Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party the White House in November, they have no one to blame but themselves. They need to go look in the mirror because it's their fault. Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. At least the Reapers can take the foot off the gas. It's not a total loss. Okay, interesting. Thank you for the Rumble rant. Do appreciate that. The significance of and I mentioned this earlier this afternoon. We, the American people, have been striving for some kind of unity. In other words, some kind of genuine bipartisanship. Well, folks, I don't know how much more bipartisan it gets than this. Now, I can just hear liberals and progressives and Democrats who are listening to this live stream. They're just going to tear their head. He's not a Democrat. He's not one of us. Excuse me? May I respectfully remind you, he tried to run as a Democrat in the primaries against Joe Biden. Biden and his campaign people fought him tooth and nail every step of the way, rigged the primary against Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., and it got so bad, RFK Jr. abandoned the Democrat Party, became an independent, and ran for president that way. Why? Because the Democrats would have nothing to do with him. So please don't sit out there and give me the argument, he's not a Democrat, he's not one of us, this isn't that big of a deal. Oh, no, 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 no. You Democrats drove him into the arms of Donald Trump. Now, look, I take Robert Kennedy Jr. at his word when he says that there were issues that he and Trump agree on. The Ukraine war, censorship and free speech, children's health issues, health freedom. I take him at his word. And let me say something else, and this is directed directly to Donald Trump. You better honor your word to this man, which I think you will. I'm giving you benefit of the doubt on this one, but I'm telling you right now, you better honor your word to this guy. Because the consequences, if you don't this time, are going to be bad. Because it was said that back in 2016, he wanted to put RFK Jr. on a panel, and people just kind of shot it down. It got shot down by his Trump staff. So I'm just saying, Robert Kennedy Jr.'s reached out to you in good faith. Honor your word, which we'll get to some of that here in a minute. But we're here right now because the Democrats wouldn't take a phone call. And RFK Jr. is looking around realizing, and I think it was Gypsy that pointed it out this morning, Nicole Shanahan's comment that, Harris Walls scares them as independents, just scares them to death. All right, one last clip from Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s speech yesterday. And this is the one that runs 3 minutes. I'm not going to interrupt this because it is totally worth every bit of it. This is at the tail end of the speech. And if you want a good summation out of almost 50 minutes of why he's doing this, in spite of everything that's going to cost him, listen to this.
This is a spiritual journey for me. I reached my decision through deep prayer, through hard-nosed logic, and I asked myself, what choices must I make to maximize my chances to save America's children and restore national health? I felt that if I refused this opportunity, I would not be able to look myself in the mirror, knowing that I could have saved lives of countless children and reversed this country's chronic disease epidemic. I'm 70 years old. I may have a decade to be effective. I can't imagine that President Harris would allow me or anyone to solve these dire problems. After 8 years of President Harris, any opportunity for me to fix the problem will be out of my reach forever. President Trump has told me that he wants this to be his legacy. I'm choosing to believe that this time he will follow through. His son, his biggest donors, his closest friends, and all support this objective. My joining the Trump campaign will be a difficult sacrifice for my wife and children, but worthwhile if there's even a small chance of saving these kids. Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country and our children is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other. That's why I launched my campaign to unify America. My dad and uncle made such an enduring mark on the character of our nation, not so much because of any particular policies that they promoted, but because they were able to inspire profound love for our country and to fortify our sense of ourselves as a national community held together by ideals. They were able to put their love into the intentions and hearts of ordinary Americans and to unify a national populist movement of Americans, Blacks and whites, Hispanics, urban and rural Americans. They inspired affection and love and high hopes and a culture of kindness that continue to radiate among Americans from their memory. That's the spirit on which I ran my campaign and that I intend to bring into the campaign of President Trump. Instead of vitriol and polarization, I will appeal to the values that unite us, the goals that we could achieve if only we weren't at each other's throats. The most unifying theme for all Americans is that we all love our children. If we all unite around that issue now, we can finally give them the protection, the health, and the future that they deserve. Thank you all very much.
I said it earlier this afternoon. Robert Kennedy Jr. said more in 15 minutes than Kamala Harris said in her whole speech. I'm revising that statement. Robert Kennedy Jr. said more in 3 minutes than Kamala Harris has said in the whole time she's been the nominee of the Democrat Party. Like I said, I dropped the link to the speech in chat on both sides, on Rumble and on YouTube. If you haven't listened to it, I really recommend it to you. That speech is a throwback to a much better day in American politics. And since it's the bottom of the hour, and before we go on, let me do a really quick commercial. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative, sometimes also known as the fine fella in the fedora. And if you just happen upon this live stream, this is the Saturday Night Supper Club. We occasionally get together at this hour of the Saturday Eve to talk about the news, share our views, and otherwise have a good time doing it. We're out on Rumble, we're out on Twitter, we're out on YouTube. So please, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please go ahead and do so. Also, hit the thumbs up, share the link around, and drop some comments in chat. That always tends to help. TBA over on Rumble says, please remind me of the last time Trump did not honor his word. I'm having a lapse of memory. Okay, now let me back up a second. Maybe I'm misstating myself here, but in my recollections, he had told or talked about putting RFK Jr. on a commission back when Trump was president, and he didn't follow through on it. Now, I don't know if that's Trump didn't follow through, didn't keep his word, or if the staff killed it. So let me just clarify myself on that one. Don't want to misspeak myself, but I'm almost sure I'm right about that. So that was RFK Jr.'s speech. Well, everything. Let's see, how is it that Steve Bannon puts it? There's no such thing as, we don't believe in conspiracies, but there are no such things as coincidences. WWG1 says, my plate needs to be taken away. I'm ready for dessert. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll work to it. We're on to the next course. Or hold on, just chill. TBA says, or was there some interference with that special panel? Now that's possible. That is possible, because my details on that are a little bit fuzzy. So I may be giving Trump too much grief for this. But even without the previous, what had happened in the past, I would still say, You've made an agreement, which I'm not too worried about. I think Trump will honor his word. I'm not too that worried about it. Oh, was that what it was? Oh, well then, okay, that starts to explain what's going on here. Okay, yeah, and I agree with this completely. He did say more in 3 minutes than she said in 3.5 years. Well. So RFK Jr. makes this speech in Arizona. Trump's in Arizona. Well, that same night at the Trump rally, they brought out his special guest, and the reaction that RFK Jr. got had to be heartening. And I would wonder I would really love to know, was he surprised? And that before I play this, let me pose that question to you guys. Do you think the reaction he got kind of caught him by surprise? I really wonder, because I've seen that same thing happen with people on the left. When they start hanging out with people on the right, they realize, hey, they're not so bad. And I gotta wonder what was going through his mind when he was up on stage. But with that, here's what happened the other night in Arizona.
Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome a man who has been an incredible champion for so many of these values that we all share, and we've shared them for a long time. I don't think too many of you people have heard of him. He's very low-key. He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Now I'm going to keep the clip going. I'm just trying to stay out of trouble with YouTube. But watch this entrance. There he's coming in from off. There you go. And I give Trump and his people a ton of credit. I really do. They absolutely know how to put on a show. They really do. So let's see if we're getting any. Oh, okay, hang on. Yeah, okay, it's still playing it. Now this clip runs for about 3 minutes. So let's see how much of this but yeah, he's getting. Okay, here we go.
And he deserves it. He deserves it. For the past 16 months, Bobby has run an extraordinary campaign for President of the United States. I know, because he also went after me a couple of times. I didn't like it. And I mean this sincerely. Had he been allowed to enter the Democrat primary, he would have easily beaten Joe Biden, but they wouldn't let him in.
Now I'm going to stop it right there. And you know what? It's kind of sad. It is really kind of sad when a Republican has to point out the obvious to the Democrat Party. Now, of course, they're not going to listen to Trump because, number one, it's Donald Trump, and number two, Donald Trump is a Republican. But it's really kind of sad when somebody outside the Democrat Party has to look at them and say, you guys do realize that if this guy had been allowed him to run this race, he'd have beat Joe Biden, right? And honestly, I'm going to say something, and it might not shock people. It might shock them. I'll make an argument that if Bobby Kennedy Jr. had been the nominee of the Democrat Party, I'm not so sure Trump wins this election. I'm serious. I'm genuinely serious. I'm not so sure Trump wins this thing. Now, again, we can debate the merits of a Robert Kennedy Jr. presidency all you want, and that's fine because there's a lot of issues that I absolutely do not agree with him on. But the Kennedy mystique, everything else, I'm not sure Trump wins. And, but they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't listen. They wouldn't moderate their positions. They wouldn't do anything. TBA says Kennedy would have given Trump a run for his money for sure. Not sure he would have won. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and Seabass, I think you're absolutely right. The Democrats wouldn't let RFK Jr. win. They wouldn't even let him run the primaries. And even when he went politically independent, they almost bankrupted his campaign trying to keep him off the ballot. The party of democracy, don't you know? Oh, it cracks you up. It absolutely just cracks you up. But a couple more clips one more clip from last night. And this one's pretty good. Oh, now this is an interesting point. Part of me is reserved about RFK Jr. in that he let his wife force him to take the COVID jab. Why expect a divorce? Okay. We'll get to some of that here in a minute. Not necessarily about his wife, but about the family. Oh my God. This poor guy. And look, Robert Kennedy Jr. is a grown adult. Okay. So I'm not going to sit here and poor pitiful him for the troubles he's about to experience. He knew what he was getting into with this. But I got to say, on a personal level, and that to me it makes me respect all the more the sacrifice that the man made. This man is going to be a pariah, not just in his own party, of which his family is ancestrally a part of. In his own family, he's going to be a pariah. And that kind of makes me sad for him on that level. But anyway, here's the other one clip from last night.
And I also want to salute Bobby's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and our children. Nobody's done more. Millions and millions of Americans who want clean air, clean water, and a healthy nation have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food. That's why today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and many more. We want every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life. So I just...
Well, there you go. And Kennedy did speak briefly at last night's rally. And, you know, I've got a clip from there, and I think you guys would be interested in hearing it. It's not very long. Check this out.
Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted.
Okay. The die is cast. The Rubicon is crossed. RFK Jr. is now on the Trump team. And let's see what else kind of commentaries we got. TBA says, Bobby is about to experience the same sort of vitriol with his family that the rest of us experience since the jabs were rolled out. Any bets and what this new panel will find? If I spell it out here, algorithm will throw it out. You may be right, my friend. Yeah, I mean, this is just amazing. Now, I want to get to some of the reaction to this. And I said a moment ago, oh, by the way, did you guys see the front page of the New York Post? I love this. You guys have got to see it. Check this out. This was the front page of the New York Post this morning. Look at that picture. Just when you thought you'd seen it all, a Kennedy endorses a Republican. Folks, I mean, look, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't mean as much as some people, maybe it doesn't mean as much as I think it does, but I'm telling you right now, the politicals and the historic significance of this cannot be overstated. You have the nephew of a slain American president, the son of a slain presidential candidate who was a sitting senator from the state of New York. The grandson of Joseph Kennedy Sr. crossing the aisle. And we all talk about I just wish the Republicans would cross the aisle. Well, here you have a Democrat that finally did what they've been telling the Republicans they want them to do. Now let's see what kind of reaction he gets. You have a Democrat crossing the aisle, embracing a Republican and saying, I don't agree with you on everything, but I agree with you enough. Let's work together to save the country. Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. You know, I feel the whole Chems and Kid angle feel like smoke and mirrors. It's too good of bait. I know, black pill bad. Okay, I can respect that. You know, TBA says crossing the aisle ought to go both ways. It ought to be a two-way street. Indeed. Well, hello, Joe Lee. How you doing? Glad to have you here tonight. I don't think if you've been here before, forgive me if I don't remember, but I'm glad to see you. And if you're brand new, welcome. Glad to have you. Please remember to subscribe. I'm getting better at that sort of thing. But yeah, look at that. That picture is great. This is absolutely good. It's absolutely great. And let me find it real fast. I saw a meme earlier today. Gypsy sent me one of them. And I found another one. But check this out. I'll save the one that Gypsy sent me here in just a second. Oh, okay. You have been here. Apologies. Eyes is getting old. But check this out. Look at that. Is that not great? I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. AI scares me to death, but AI does have its uses, and this is one of them. This is absolutely one of them. That is just great. My goodness. Now, this is the good reaction, but I got to take a moment and like I said, I know that Robert Kennedy Jr. is a big boy. He can take care of himself. He knows what he's getting into with certain things, okay? But the guy with Trump TBA, I think that's supposedly representing Robert Kennedy Jr. I don't know. I'm just assuming. So for his troubles of doing this, what did RFK Jr. get? Take a look at this statement from his brothers and sisters, his own siblings. We want an America filled with hope and bound together by a shared vision of a brighter future, a future defined by individual freedom, economic promise, and national pride. We believe in Harris and Walls. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It is a sad ending to a sad story. Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, Courtney Kennedy, Carrie Kennedy, Chris Kennedy, and Rory Kennedy. His own brothers and sisters. Now, look, did he probably figure this was coming? Yeah. Does it make it any better, the fact that he knew it was coming? Not really. It's really kind of sad. I mean, look, they have the right to endorse whoever they want. They have the right to back whoever they want. And if they want to put out this kind of a statement, I get it. But I don't know, man. Even if you're a person at the stage in life that RFK Jr. is, that's still got to be tough to swallow. Now, I'm pretty sure that he's got a pretty thick skin, but still, if that were me in his shoes, that'd still be tough to take. It really would. It really would. And what else did he get for his trouble? Oh, yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. Zippy with another Rumble rant. Thank you very much for being very generous tonight. Best thing about AI, trust nothing you see or hear. Well, that's very true. Very, very true. Very, very true. What else did RFK Jr. get for his trouble? Oh, nothing except somebody from he knew back in the day in college accused him of being a coke dealer at Harvard. Oh, yeah. This story broke at the UK Daily Mail today. Check this out. Let me get this thing. There we go. RFK Jr. accused of being a cocaine dealer at Harvard. His former classmate speaks out. Article written by Rachel Bowman for thedailymail.com. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s former Harvard University classmate has accused him of selling cocaine as a student. The bombshell claim came as author Kurt Anderson on Friday in a scathing column for The Atlantic. Earlier in the day, Kennedy suspended his third-party presidential campaign and endorsed Republican nominee Donald Trump. Anderson claimed as a Harvard student in the 1970s, he purchased cocaine from RFK Jr. and his brother Joseph P. Kennedy II for $40 in a dorm room. Sometimes during my freshman year, I tried cocaine, enjoyed it, later decided to purchase a gram for myself, Anderson said. A friend told me about a kid in our class who was selling coke. That dealer was Bobby Kennedy. Gosh, unbelievable. The writer alleged he reached out to RFK Jr. and he told him to come over to his room in the Hulbert dorm, and that the nephew of the Democrat President John F. Kennedy shared with future journalist Peter Kaplan. RFK Jr. poured out a line for me to sample. handed me an 1.5 inch length of plastic drinking straw. I snorted, chatted for a minute. I paid him, I believe, $40 in cash. It's a lot of money, the equivalent of $300 today. But cocaine bought from a Kennedy, accompanied by a Kennedy brother. The moment of glamour seemed worth it. Now, thank you very much. 50 years later, oh yeah, I just all of a sudden remember the fact that I bought cocaine from Bobby Kennedy on the very same day that he's endorsing Donald Trump. Yeah, well, and that's just it. It's not like it's not. I mean, look, I said earlier today, the picadillos of the Kennedy men are very well established. Okay. Womanizers, drinkers, and drug users in some cases. And here, yeah, he's not hiding anything. Exactly. He just happens to remember on the very same day that Robert Kennedy Jr. endorses Trump. Yeah, I wonder what this guy had to say about Hunter. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. The memes. Now, that's the bad side of it, but there's been a lot of good upside, and not just in a reaction sense. I would argue in a really good practical sense. I said that people have been sending me stuff. Gypsy sent me a meme earlier today. Check this one out. Look at this. Isn't this great? Let me pop this up here, make it a little bigger. Here we go. Check that out. The Avengers. Jack Jr., Bobby Jr., Trump. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Really is. Got a few more here for you. Here's another one I love. Let's see, who put this one up here? Patriot Savvy put this one up. The says, I'm telling my kids these are the Avengers. That is one heck of a collection. It really is. That is just the only thing would have made it better if they'd have thrown Tulsi Gabbard into it. That would have made it perfect. That would have made it absolutely perfect. Yeah, it's a WWG1. I absolutely agree with you. It's a very powerful visual. I absolutely agree. Let's see what else have we got here. Yeah, that one's just pretty daggone cool. Oh, now this one's just downright funny. Check this out. Imagine, if you will, a Democrat Party so corrupt a Kennedy endorses Trump. That's great. That is, and people of a certain generation will definitely understand this reference. That is just absolutely great. Okay, well, all right. I can respect that. You know, okay, maybe not friends, but I would argue they could be allies. That I will argue. Trump in the middle, Tulsi on the bottom, buy your powers. Come, oh, jeez. Oh, Zippy, you're going to get me in trouble. Anyway, what else have we got here? Now, oh, by the by, people have been asking the question that, let's say Robert Kennedy Jr. was put into Trump's cabinet as, let's say, Secretary of Health and Human Services, which, by the way, I think it's a great idea. I absolutely think that's a fantastic idea. Either put him there, put him at the FDA, Centers for Disease Control. I just say put him over top of the whole thing. Just give him Department of HHS and let him clean house. Just let him clean house. That would be fantastic. But people have been wondering, what would it be like in a cabinet meeting if Robert Kennedy Jr. were the Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services? Well, someone put together a simulation of what a cabinet meeting might look like. And with that, check this out.
What is he getting wrong? What he's getting wrong is just about everything.
Can you show me one vaccine that has been subject to a safety test? Show me one study.
I talk about it in the book.
Can you cite any for me?
Probably the book, because I wrote the book.
For anybody that's listening to this conversation, where's the best place that you should guide them? Would it be
The book.
But right now, if someone wants to find out, they have to buy your book.
This book.
I don't know. If Robert Kennedy Jr. becomes the Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services, folks, we might have a lot of that going on. I'm just saying. Anyway, told you the supper club would be fun tonight. Now, on a more serious note, it's in the book. It's in the book. LOL. Exactly. Zippy, you're just awful. Exactly, Robert. Exactly. Buy my product. I'm here all week. Try the veal. WWG1 says, I have a book with all the universe's secrets in it. You have to buy it, though. Well, there you go. Let's see. What else have we got going on here? Now, there's all kinds of reaction to what's happened in the past 24 hours. Some of it serious and some of it very substantive. This is a comedian out of Los Angeles by the name of Josh Denny. You might have some familiarity with him if you follow the work of Anthony Cumia, some of the old gang from over Compound Media. Chrissy Mayer's good friends with him, etc. And he had a fairly interesting take on this RFK news. The RFK announcement has really thrown a lot of my LA friends for a loop. They loved having RFK as an alternative to voting for Harris. Now they have to face this harsh reality that many of us have accepted for a while. It's Trump or the end of America. Those are your choices. That's a pretty heavy, humorous but heavy. He's got a point. I mean, look, it's real easy. And that's going to be something that I'm going to be fascinated to see coming out in the polls coming up. Okay. Where do these RFK Jr. voters go? Some of them are going to go to Trump. I think it will be a significant share. I say at least half of them. Okay. Part of them will go to Harris. Some of them just won't vote. Now, depending on which state you're talking about, that could wind up swinging the state to Trump. Virginia in particular, I'm going to be fascinated to see new polling coming out of Virginia. I'm serious. Matter of fact, if I were any pollster right now, there is no way in the world. Just what you need to wait till Tuesday of next week. Let this news that happened yesterday just really sink in, okay? And then poll the race. Then poll it and see what happens. Oh, it'll survive. The only question is, what do you get? And good evening, Professor. Glad to have you here with us. America will survive. The only question is, what kind of a country do you have after it's all said and done? Oh, TBA, I saw that memo, what they think's going to happen here. And I'm not discounting it. I'm not discounting it at all. Let's just see how this shakes out. And there's some pollsters I'm not going to pay a lick of attention to them because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Some of them I will. Oh, yeah, I really am. I'm really interested to see this. I agree with you. Yeah, and here's a good point, too, small time. Some of them are going to go to third party. There's another factor that no one's taking in. How many of them might go to Jill Stein? How many might go to Cornel West? Don't know. Now, I've got a couple more clips. One of them, oh, by the by, here's another effect of what happened yesterday. Pop this up on screen for you guys. This is a gentleman named Dr. Ben Braddock. a writer apparently, among other things, was in a call with Team Kennedy activists and volunteers in my region this morning. And again, I'm not sure where he's at. I just happened to catch this. These people put RFK on the ballot. They knocked on doors, they made calls, they put up signs, they tabled at events. They're more organized and visible than the local GOP. They are all in for Trump unity. And who was the first person to I won't say the first person, but look what happened here. Scott Pressler. God love this kid. Scott Pressler, vote register extraordinaire. What's he say? Hey, can we chat? How can I help? How can we work together as a team? He said, hey, I just messaged you. The energy coming off of this is amazing. Now, again, we've been talking about the sugar high on the Democrats are experiencing right now. Well, right now, the Republican side just got a jolt. Well, not a problem. Jolie, glad you're able to join us tonight, and do stop back in again anytime. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. Glad you were here. Enjoy dinner, my love. But yeah, and the Republicans right now are experiencing a little bit of a sugar high. But this isn't just sugar. I'd also argue it's substance. It's stuff like this. Because, I mean, honestly, think about it for a minute. In his speech yesterday, Robert Kennedy Jr. made a very valid point. Volunteers in his campaign busted their tails. Some of them in freezing weather, pouring down rain, heat like you were in the Sahara Desert, knocking on doors, getting signatures, trying to get this man on the ballot, and they did. That organization is still there. Now, again, does that mean every last RFK Jr. volunteer comes over to work for the Trump campaign? No, not necessarily. But that's more manpower and presence that they've got, and maybe even in places, if this one gentleman, this Ben Braddock, is correct, maybe in places where the Republicans aren't that strong to begin with. Who knows what the effect is going to be? Oh, this is my dear, this is absolutely true. I was talking about this with my good buddy Smiling Jack the other day. Because the normal expectation is the presidential candidate gives their speech on a Thursday night. Friday, they're out on the road. They got this huge crowd, all the momentum and everything else. And I said to my buddy Smiling Jack, I said, Trump is the absolute master at sucking the oxygen right out of the room. At 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday, RFK Jr. walks up on a stage in Phoenix, Arizona, and gives this speech where he suspends his campaign, endorses Trump, and this that's the sound of oxygen getting sucked out of the room, and much louder than I'm doing it, but you get my point. Okay. And now what's everybody talking about? The fact that RFK Jr. endorsed Trump. What may they now? Can I guarantee that on the Sunday shows tomorrow that, Meet the Press, Face the Nation, This Week with ABC News, can I guarantee they're going to talk about this? I don't know, but it ought to be top of conversation. It should, and might very well be. It'll definitely get a mention. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Really, I had seen a tweet about this. And I'm not saying that wasn't true, but if that's confirmed, that's awful. That is god awful. Come out of a convention, you go into an event on Friday, and you only get less than 200 people show up. That is awful. Just awful. TBA over on Rumble says, Kalamalama was getting a negative bump for a convention. The longer the convention went on, the more points she lost. I've heard that said. I have heard that from a lot of people. Mark Mitchell over at Rasmussen, Rich Barris was talking about it. Man, the weirdest thing may have happened in that Trump may have got a convention bounce off a Democrat convention. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Absolutely amazing. All right, got a little bit more to talk about. Patrick Bet David yesterday had Brett Weinstein, a Democrat, by the way, on his podcast. And they had an exchange. This runs about, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but some of this is really good. Check this out.
How big you think, one, this is? Him stepping aside, him not being in the battlegrounds, him supporting Trump, and him trashing the Democratic Party that he left?
Well, I think this is absolutely monumental because I think we are in a novel moment in American political history where many of us who hold different positions on the political spectrum, have different priorities with respect to policy, are finding that none of our differences matter in light of the jeopardy that the republic is in. And so what he is effectively doing here is he is saying those differences aren't going away, but they're just simply secondary. And he is both structurally, by withdrawing from certain ballots and not others, he is emboldening a movement that is more widely recognizing that those differences have to be put aside until the main job is done. And he's leaving himself an important voice in that discussion. So I was very interested in the way he navigated the idea. This was not a simple endorsement of Trump. This was an endorsement of retaking the White House and using that position to restore the republic to its proper course.
That is a great way of putting it. And I hadn't thought about it, but I hadn't really given it that much thought until I heard Weinstein's comment, but he's absolutely right. I mean, look, there are a lot of issues that we, the American people, are absolutely going to each other, you know? And we think they're important. I'm not saying they're not, but there's also some fundamental things that, man, if we don't get this stuff straightened out, we ain't going to be able to sit around and go at each other. Okay? If the republic doesn't survive, at least as was constituted 200 plus years ago, then the other stuff doesn't really matter. TBA says, save the republic first, then deal with our ideological differences. Fair point. And yeah, I agree with Christian Watson. I mean, yeah, America's going to go on. But the question is, what kind of a people are we going to be? What is this government going to be that, we're going to be living under? That maybe that's the better, the more finer way to make the point. Yeah, we're going to have a country. What are you going to have? I mean, remember, Benjamin Franklin walks out of Constitutional Hall in Philadelphia in 1787, and some woman asks him, well, sir, what have we got? And he said, a republic, if you can keep it. And I think Weinstein's absolutely onto something here. Now here's one. Oh, hold on. Where is it? Don't tell me that I lost this. Oh, do not tell me that no, that's right. I didn't. They deleted it. Oh, by the way, we do have some reaction from, okay, let me get my thoughts together here. Lest you think that we don't have sources everywhere. We do. And we've got a source inside the Harris campaign. And they were able to get a snippet on video of a meeting post RFK Jr. endorsement. And I don't know why they did what they did, but for some strange reason they were speaking in a different language. I don't get the why, but we got subtitles to this thing. So, for the sake of keeping you guys in the know, because, I like doing that kind of thing. Oh, there was a great deal of belly aching going on. And TBA, you're absolutely right. So with that, here is a snippet of what the meeting was like inside the Harris campaign after RFK Jr. Okay, we're gonna hold it up right there. So as you can tell, there was not a lot of joy and happiness inside the Harris campaign. Yeah, it was a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of nervous looks, that sort of thing. I'll drop this in chat for everybody's benefit on both sides. Oh, I absolutely am, TBA. I wouldn't dare not share that one with you guys. Yeah, it's a little bit rough in the Harris campaign right now. Very much so. Oh, goodness me. Well, speaking of the convention, tell you what. Let me do something real quick here. Stop it. John Stewart, you just hold up right there, big boy. TBA says, I laughed my ass off this morning. Oh yeah, it's great. It is great. I tell you what, I don't have the talent that these meme makers and video splicers, I'm just a guy that sits behind a microphone and tells you what I think. But I absolutely appreciate quality work when I see it. And I tell you what, this campaign season, the meme makers and the video splicers and all those cats, these guys are having more fun than a human being ought to be allowed to have. To quote the legendary Rush Limbaugh, this is just great what's going on right now. I think it's awesome. And just fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic. But let me do a real quick commercial since we're on the quarter of the hour, and then I'll transition us into some other things we're going to talk about tonight. If you are joining us, it is 7:15 Eastern. My name is Brian Trippett on the Front Porch Conservative. This is the Saturday Night Supper Club. On occasion, we get together around 6 o'clock in the evening on a Saturday, and we talk about items in the news. And sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. Sometimes we cry from the laughing. Sometimes we just cry because it's sad. But either way, we sit around and talk about the news. We share our views about it. We tell each other what we're thinking, and just trying to help ourselves get through it all. So if you like that sort of thing and you're enjoying what you see here, please do me a favor, subscribe to my channel. I genuinely appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, both on Rumble and on YouTube, and subscribe on both Rumble and YouTube, please. We would genuinely appreciate it. Also, leave a comment below, share the link around, all that happy stuff. You know how it goes. No, WWG1, I'm not gonna read that comment. I love you, but I'm not gonna read that comment. No, I will not read that on the Rumble side. Bless your heart. I love you, but no, even I have standards. They must be maintained. But it's a great comment. I ain't gonna lie. has to do with Kamala and certain, shall we say, interpersonal relationship actions that people engage in. I hear about every so often. Anyway, so if you're wanting to read it, go over to the Rumble chat and read that, because I ain't about to touch that baby. No. Although a lot of people, never mind. Shut up, Brian. All right. The Democrat convention, Kamala's speech, but the convention overall, Jon Stewart had probably one of the best summations of the Democrat National Convention in Chicago that I think I've ever seen. And this is just absolutely priceless, as only Jon Stewart can do this. So anyway, do me a favor, take a look at this, and I think you will enjoy it.
They had a guy yelling, "Screw the billionaires," followed immediately by a very happy billionaire. It's all okay if it's our billionaire. I don't like billionaires, but he's all right. They had guys making fun of people for going to Yale, and a bunch of people who went to Yale. The Democrats had people who prosecuted sexual predators and there goes that booking.
That's great. That is absolutely great. Oh, Johnny boy. We love you, man. We love you. Took a moment to grab some agua during that clip. Johnny, we raise a glass to you, my boy. Tally ho. That was great. That's just great. But yeah, I mean, Jon Stewart in his own unique, humorous sort of way. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, Jon Stewart is pointing out the obvious, the hypocrisy of it all. Billionaires stink. And here comes J.B. Prisker, who's a billionaire. All these people that went to Yale, and I mean, went to Yale. That's a great question, man. That's a great question. I have no idea. None. No idea. It's great, though. Zippy says the vodka looks clear now. It's not vodka. It literally, this is water. It's just water. I promise you. Look, I cannot drink and stream. All right. Whew. No, I cannot do that sort of thing. Believe me, you do not want to see me loaded and do a live stream. No, you do not want that. But Jon Stewart's absolutely right. I mean, this convention, and maybe this is just me, but this convention was a dud. Moonshine doesn't have a color. Well, it's not moonshine. I swear to you, it's not moonshine or vodka or anything else. I do want to play a funny from Kamala's speech. And again, the meme makers are absolutely having a field day right now. This one's great. Have you seen this? Check this out.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border.
I want to play that again.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border.
That's great. That is just great. I do have a little bit more serious reaction. This is from Danielle Alva, who is a journalist of some, I guess, a influencer, journalist of some note, etc. And her reaction to Kamala Harris's speech. I want you to check this out.
You know, I thought it was kind of a disastrous DNC, and I certainly thought her speech lacked a lot of substance. I mean, hope and forward were themes of the Obama camp. It's clear that she's just retreading some old speeches. She couldn't talk about any policy. She lied about taking the border seriously, taking the economy seriously. She talks about on day one. Well, friendly reminder to Kamala Harris, she has been in office for the last 3.5 years, has had over 40 tie-breaking votes, has fully endorsed Joe Biden's agenda, is the original border czar, and has been an absolute disaster on the world stage, which is in contrast to President Trump, whose strength and success is lauded.
Okay. Correction on my part. Trump campaign advisor. But I do need to critique something here. Yeah, everything she said is right. No, she's not tying it. She's not tying it together correctly. And this, and I've talked about this before, and I apologize if I belabor this point. You've got to explain to the American people what it is she did. Yes, she's all those things. She's the border czar. She took the tie-breaking vote on the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah, she did all that. But what does that mean to the American people? Kamala Harris is the cause of inflation. Well, that's a pretty heavy thing to say. It may be heavy, but it's true. She helped cause it. Every time we go to the grocery store, you're paying more. Kamala Harris is at fault for it. Every time you go to the gas station, you put more in the truck or the car. Kamala Harris is to blame for it. If a neighbor or a friend, God forbid, gets killed at the hands of an illegal immigrant who crossed the border, guess what? In part, it is Kamala Harris's fault. She did nothing to shut down the border. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you can rattle off all these things, but you got to tie it to everybody's everyday life. Yeah, TBA over on Rumble says Kalamalama is the reason your financial life is in the shitter these days. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, borders are supreme. Mm-hmm. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. And that's what I'm saying. Tie her to the actions and the consequences. That's all I'm saying. If they do that for the next 70 plus days, baby, we're home. When the eyes of the American people wake up and realize, holy crap, she keeps claiming she wants to bring joy. She's brought me nothing but misery. That's when we win this thing. Exactly. I have been saying this. She's the last person in the room with Biden on every major decision. Tie her to that. Afghanistan, inflation, the border, all of it. Tie her to it. Zippy over on Rumble, Kamala sucked the value out of the market dry, or she blew it, or she blew inflation real big. Me love you long time. I'll hush now. Giggle, cough, hairball. Oh, God. Thank you for that Rumble rant, Zippy. And folks, I'm duty bound to read it. I'm just saying. Or at least put it up on the screen. So there you go. Thank you, Zippy. I appreciate that Rumble rant. Some more reaction. And this one ought to scare the Democrats to death. So CNN did one of their famous panels of undecided voters. Okay. Now, whether Frank Luntz was involved with this one or not, I have no idea. But they did one. And they did it with a group of voters in Pennsylvania. This one is absolutely brutal. Folks, you got to hear this.
She wasn't clear enough on the policies. She did speak a lot of her personal history, which was great, but I still don't feel like she's ready. I feel like more so she should wait. I don't want to per se vote for someone that is a backup.
All right.
Ooh, that is just, folks, if undecided voters came away from hearing her speech and they've got any kind of reaction similar to that, she's in serious trouble. I mean, serious trouble. Zippy with another Rumble rant. I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing. Hey, Zippy, the supper club is the supper club, and Zippy gonna Zippy. That's all I'm saying. You're good, dude. Oh my word. Oh my word. This is quickly going off the rails. That's all I'm saying. Oh boy, this audience. Anyhow, Tucker Carlson the other night got together with Jason Whitlock, and they were reacting to Kamala's speech live. And this is a fairly interesting comment from Tucker Carlson. I want you guys to hear this. Do me a favor, check this out.
Can I just interject here for a second? This woman's really scary. She could easily get elected president. She's much more skillful than I have ever seen. She's a liar on the deepest level. The things she is saying right now are not just untrue, they're the opposite of the truth, which is the hallmark of evil. She's an extremist. She'll say anything. She's much more like Gavin Newsom than I ever realized. I could go through a whole litany of why what she's saying is not true. It wasn't an armed mob. There's not one person inside the Capitol with a firearm, period. The only person who was shot in the Capitol was an unarmed woman shot by one of Nancy Pelosi's bodyguards. So again and again, she's telling us that she fought the cartels to secure the border. She's the border czar, and the border is controlled by the cartels.
She argued that Donald Trump, quote, tried to throw away your votes. Didn't the Democrat Party just throw away all the votes and install her?
Well, exactly. She's saying that Donald Trump will free from prison violent extremists, meaning like 75-year-old lower middle class women with diabetes, when she endorsed defunding the police and opening the prisons to allow actual criminals out, which is why the crime rate has spiked, to allow the population of Venezuela's prisons, Caracas's prisons, are now living in the United States because of her. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, and I don't want to sound like I'm whining or fact checking, which I hate, but what she's saying is the mirror image of the truth. She doesn't care. She's got no reference points in the truth, and she's an extremist. And she's a former prosecutor, and no former prosecutor should hold power, period. I've covered them my whole life. I've intensely disliked every single one of them for good reason. I think they're scary, they're liars, and they're megalomaniacal. And they put people in prison for political reasons. I've seen it again and again and again, and she's one of them.
She could still win this thing, folks. As bad as I hate to say that, she could still win this thing. This is not over. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Kamala Harris is one of the most unintelligent people that has ever run for president and gotten their party's nomination doing it. I think Kamala Harris is an unserious person. I think she's extremely insecure. I think that she has not an ounce of care or concern for the average American person. I think she's a Marxist. I think she is everything that's wrong with American politics, and that woman could still be president. In a rational world, she would never even get her party's nomination. 4 years ago, she didn't. Of course, I'm not so sure we're in a rational world anymore. That is a very sober and frightening assessment. Tell you what. Even NBC News had a reaction to this, and you got to hear it. Check it out.
But again, we didn't hear a whole lot about how she would be different from a Biden administration. It's interesting.
Did you catch that? We didn't hear a whole lot of how she'd be different from the Biden administration. What did I say on Thursday night? You take out the first 10 minutes of that speech, and the remainder of it, Joe Biden could have given the thing. As a matter of fact, I jokingly said, what you had up there was Joe Biden in drag. There's no difference. There is fundamentally not an ounce of difference between her and Joe Biden. I would just argue she could be worse. I think Tucker Carlson's right. She's a true believer. She's an ideologue. I mean, I talk about the crazies running the asylum. Guess what? Here's the head crazy, cackling all the way while she does it. Yeah, and this is a good point. Yep. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Oh, goodness. What else have we? Oh, by the way, we have, hey, I always try to bring to you guys information that I think is good and relevant and also will help you laugh. Well, we've found one of Kamala's speechwriters, And I want to introduce you to one of the speechwriters on Kamala Harris's team.
I'm Oliver Bartholomew, and I'm 16 and a half years old, and I'm the speechwriter for Kamala Harris. Ever since I was little, I liked words, so I made writing words my job. Every politics person has a writer, like me, to make good words for them to say.
Space is exciting. Space, it affects us all. And it connects us all.
I got that idea when I was thinking about space and how big it is. Man, it's big. Sometimes I have to write about bad stuff, like war.
Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
I thought it would be neat if Kamala wore a blue suit and told people she was wearing it.
I'm a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
And who doesn't love a yellow school bus?
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus?
Now, I have a question. I realize that in the day-to-day, you can sometimes forget what you're doing or even what you're wearing, but how disconnected do you have to be that you have to look down to remember what color suit you're wearing? Was she sober or was she? Well, never mind. Sorry. I'm not supposed to say that sort of thing. All right. It is 7:35 East Coast time. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. This is the Saturday Night Supper Club. We have now reached the dessert section, and we have a few entrees for your perusal. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. She was speaking. Yeah, but even still, you have to look down to remember the color of the suit that you're wearing? Seriously? No, we are not doing Jello shots, TBA. Daggone you. I mean, Lord knows WWG1's trying to get everybody hammered into the next area code. We are not doing that. Thank you very much. Anywho. WWG1 says, I'll take the devil's food cake, apropos. Well, in your case, very much so, might I add. Anyway, a few items on the dessert tray for all of you guys as we start to wrap things up. Good news out of Washington, D.C., might I add. Check this out. From Breitbart, Jack Smith surrenders. Special counsel will not seek expedited hearings in the Donald Trump case. Article by Bradley J. We have the following. This is from yesterday. Special counsel Jack Smith reversed course in his quest to seek expedited hearings in his Washington, D.C. case against former President Donald Trump. Smith sought the hearings to determine which actions that Trump allegedly took he could not charge in his election interference case against the president. The Supreme Court's July 1st decision that the presidents enjoy partial immunity for actions taken in office in an official capacity spurred Smith to alter his approach. Before Smith relented in his latest push to expedite the increasingly shaky case, Judge Tanya Shutkin had planned to hold hearings in the fall to determine which of Trump's acts were official acts subject to prosecution. That determination will now occur after the election, if it occurs at all. So like I said, folks, legitimate good news out of D.C. There you go. You know, this is really true. Or should we call her Kamala Antoinette? I don't know. Kamala Antoinette. It's got a ring to it. All right, what else have we got here? Yeah. This is the last item on the dessert tray, and this was sent to me. Katie Hopkins. And this one is not necessarily subject related. It's just adult funny. And, you know, all of you all I've with tongue-in-cheek taking you to task for some of the comments you dropped tonight. But yes, I believe M16, dear, you're right. We are all adults, and we need to laugh while we can. So in that vein, here's the last item on the dessert tray for the Saturday Night Supper Club. Enjoy.
Do you know what I did for Katie's arms tonight? I went and put on, hold on, let me show, an actual heel. I put on an actual shoe. I know, I was in a flip-flop, and I thought, no, my audience deserves better than a flip-flop. So I went and put on a heel, even though you can't see my feet. And I'm definitely not getting my feet out because I get loads and loads of people asking for me to send them pictures of their feet. And I'm not that desperate yet. Obviously, when I'm like a little bit older and desperate, I'll be sending people pictures of my feet unsolicited. They won't even be asking for them. And I'll be like, here's my 65-year-old foot with a bunion on. Have a to that. But as for now, I'm still rejecting people asking for pictures of my feet. And the other thing I get quite a bit of, because I do these cameos, as you know, for epilepsy charities, I just say happy birthday or whatever, or take the picture of people's mates, mostly blokes. But some people go on and ask me to like punish them. So it's not like a legit cameo where I'm going, oi, your mates tell me you've got a tiny and not much for personality and they don't really like you, which is my favorite kind of cameo. Is people going, I want you to talk, tell me that you want to punish me and tell me that you want to hurt me and tell me that you want to tie me up. Jesus, it's supposed to be cameo. It's supposed to be happy birthday. The other cameo I like, and I will go off the subject, is when people get one for someone like a girlfriend who hates me. So like some lefty Phoebe or whatever, who's probably from Just Stop Oil or whatever, you know, some never worked in their lives and is studying something ridiculous, some sort of social studies that we don't need. And I get to do a happy birthday, Phoebe. I hope your protesting is going super well. Do you know?
And there you go, folks. Yeah, I know. I love Katie Hopkins. You know, I might have to consider putting her on my list of future ex-wives. She's just that cool. Anyway, tell you what, let's get this train into the station. We're going to go ahead and call it a night. I want to thank you guys for being here this evening for the Saturday Night Supper Club. And the way it looks, I'll go ahead and give you guys the heads up right now. Because of the way that I'm going to be, if it all works out, I'll be taping my interview with John Cass, hopefully next Saturday at the same time we were going to do it today. We're not going to be doing it live, but that means that brunch is not going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and announce it right now. We will be doing this again next Saturday night at 6 p.m. We'll be gathering again for the Supper Club because, as I said, if all works out, I will be doing an interview with John Cass, but we'll be not tape recording it. We'll be recording it, and it will interfere with the normal hours of Front Porch Brunch. So we're going to go ahead and announce it now, and if that changes, I'll let you guys know. But as it stands right now, I'll be doing the interview with John Cass, recording it next Saturday during what would normally be Front Porch Brunch hours. So we're going to go ahead and announce 6 p.m. next Saturday night. If it changes, I'll let you know. But otherwise, we'll be back Monday night, 7:30 Eastern for chatting on the porch. WWG1 asked me, won't Lauren Boebert be jealous that you're adding Katie Hopkins to the list? Look, what Lauren doesn't know isn't going to hurt her, okay? Look, this is a list of possibilities for future ex-wives, okay? Just saying. Of course, on the other hand, if Lauren Boebert went on a date with me, I'd drop everybody off the list. It's like, yes, ma'am. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for everything that you do to make this channel fun and interesting. Thank you for all the comments, the Rumble rants, everything that you guys do. You guys are totally awesome. I love each and every one of you. You guys have a great Saturday night. Thank you for attending the Saturday Night Supper Club with me. I will see you Monday night, 7:30 Eastern. With that, you guys have a great weekend.